it's me again, Elizabeth. I'm going to talk a bit about my favourite parts in the Trials of Apollo, the Tyrant's Tomb. These are spoilers, by the way. These are just some of my favourite parts. So, first up, I would like to talk about, I've got a few notes here, so, yeah. I'm going to talk about Meg first up, because she's one of the main characters. Meg, I liked Meg when Meg started to... I liked Meg for when they were first going, and she told Apollo, do you know how to get to Camp Jupiter? Because you didn't know how to get to Camp Half-Blood, and we nearly died when we got there. And so yeah, that was a great part. And Apollo's like, yes, I do know. And no, I didn't know how to get... I like how he said, usually I just flew my chariot down this, so you know, I know it's around this road. And yeah, that was just so funny. And I also liked how she saved them when the car was going over the cliff and down the trees, and how she did that part, and then the Euronymous came down, and then yeah, which brings me to another character, Lavinia. When Lavinia saw them there in chapter 2, I think it was chapter 2, yeah, chapter 2, and Lavinia came around and she had pink hair, bubblegum in her mouth, and I think she was sneaking away to see Poison Oak, because that's her girlfriend, so yes. And and her and one of the fawns, Don, who ended up dying, sorry to say, he kind of was helping her out there, and he really didn't want to carry Jason's casket into Camp Jupiter, because Apollo and Meg said, hey, that's Meg, I'm Apollo, and we got Jason's casket in the back of the thing, because Lavinia kills one of the Euronymouses. And Don's like, some of the Euronymouses hunt in packs, and they find out there's 2 more on their tails. So they get into the tunnel, and Lavinia goes, she just snuck away for a few hours, and her partner on guard duty was out there, and her partner was Hazel. Yes, Hazel. And Hazel comes running down the tunnel as Don the Fawn well, that's kind of like a satyr, but in Roman terms, and smells the Euronymouses, and they come into the tunnel. And I loved how Meg was willing to bring out her little sector swords things to protect them, as well as Lavinia, but they didn't have enough room to shoot, and Hazel came, and I loved when Hazel did the flying gem into the Euronymous, and it was so funny. Unfortunately, Apollo got out his ukulele. It was going to strum it and to play music. Unfortunately, I don't think the Euronymous liked that, so he ended up scratched. It was only a tiny scratch, but he got the poison in him to turn into a zombie from it. And yes, I like that part. And I like the part when Meg cried in Apollo's arms, because she was so worried about Apollo. And when Apollo figured that out, it was like so happy but so sad in a way, that it just made me want to cry. It just, Apollo and Meg, they have a like a brother-sister thing going on there, and they're friends, and they don't want to see each other hurt, and it was just so sweet to see. And how Meg felt. It was, I liked that part. It was sweet, and I liked how Apollo opened his arms and wanted to cuddle Meg and say everything's going to be all right. When really, when on these trials of his, you get the idea. And then with Lavinia, I love near the end how she showed up and she had a rash from poison oak, and Apollo and Meg's like, how's that gonna work out with you? And she goes, oh, we'll figure something out. And then that was just so cool. And I loved how Lavinia blew a bubble in the meeting about going on a quest, this quest to go into Tarquin's tomb to find out what Tarquin's plans are without getting caught. Mind you, they get caught. But yeah, she didn't want to be picked. She was just blowing a bubble. And Raina's like, you're going. Because she was the one blowing the bubble. Which disturbed the things, like they could probably do without her for a while. So, yeah, she got chosen. And so that was funny. And Raina, my gosh, Raina. Yes, she was great as a predator. And I loved when she went on the quest with Apollo and Meg to go save the silent god. And they, Apollo asks Raina out, as boyfriend, girlfriend, this could work. And she's like, just laughs her head off, literally in Apollo's face after he asks her out. And she's like, well, no. She's like laughing in his face. And she's like, I'm sorry. It's just, and then she goes, that was one of the funny moments in the tyrant's tomb. And she does apologize near the end about laughing at him and that, but she told him with everything going on and the responsibility she has, it's just, And I also like when her and Apollo are on the bridge. This is way after all the battles, and Raina says thank you to Apollo because Apollo made her laugh. Apollo healed her heart, not from dating, but being a friend like that, making her see and trying to tell her it's okay to sometimes take a break from everything and get away and just try and find to be herself. So that's what she's done. She's chosen to go and be a hunter within the Artemis's hunters. And so that was really amazing. And I also liked the part where Raina kicked him in the face. They're trying to get away from these big huge ravens that Apollo turned into ravens back when his girlfriend was cheating, and he kind of I think turned her into something or killed her or something, and then he turned her doves into black ravens. So there you go. And so they wanted to kill him. And she kicked him in the face. Raina kicked him in the face, and Meg said, oh, that's not so good. And then when they realized he also picked on the silent god, the Greco-Egyptian hybrid. So that was really funny too. I like that part. But I also liked how Raina and Meg came to Apollo's defense when they opened the box to the silent god and told him Apollo has changed and showed their memories so he wouldn't kill Apollo. So that was very sweet. And Hazel, I loved Hazel. like I said, when she came in. Hazel told Jason's casket, "How dare you die on us like this, and why didn't you know?" But yeah, and I also like the part where Hazel went, "If you do that to me again, Frank, I will kill you." When Frank burnt his firewood up to kill Caligula, and near the tunnel area where you go into Camp Jupiter, and that was so funny. That part was so funny. Frank's like in the hospital bed, and when he first wakes up, he's got Hazel there yelling at him for doing it, and then Hazel cuddles him, and that is so sweet. And I also love when Hazel becomes the next predator, because Raina moves from being a predator to a hunter of Artemis, or Diana, if you like, in the Roman term. And I also like when she thought Frank was dead. She got very pissed off, so she goes with Apollo and Meg to the bookstore and tries to kill Tarquin. Yeah, the king, Tarquin, yeah. And then Frank in this, he was so brave, like I'm telling you this. And I loved when he went with Apollo to the bookstore to see Tyson and Ella. And I love when Apollo saw Tyson's back and all the scars he had, plus the tattoos he's got on him. And Apollo was going to say something, and Frank told him not to. Just don't. So he didn't. And Frank realised in half the prophecy he's supposed to burn up his wood. So, he got scared about that. And then I liked when Frank was battling Caligula, because Frank asked both Commodus and Caligula whether they will fight one-on-one, and this was near the end in the battle, near the front of the tunnel area, and they went fine. And then Apollo goes up and says, make it 2 and 2, to the Roman emperors, to that. And so Frank goes, well, I'm battling Caligula. And so Apollo gets Commodus to destroy, which is interesting. I will get to him in a minute. And yeah, so I like that part. And I also like the part where Frank wakes up, and yeah. And then Frank makes Hazel a predator, and yay! And Hazel makes Lavinia one of the lingeries of the 5th cohort, the leader of the 5th cohort. So yeah, that was really cool. And I also like those parts. I also with Tyson, I like the part where Tyson was getting the tattoos and he was wriggling around on the scenes. There's it tickles, and I loved how the tattoo was under his armpit. That was so funny. And how Apollo had the ring from his armpit. That was so funny. And how he danced, and I love how he said "flying pony" and got the tattoo of rainbow on his near his back, I think it was. So that was really funny. And Ella the Harpy, I loved her as well. And I liked how she poked Apollo and the cat from in the bookstore cat. I love that. How the cat was trying to play with her feathers. So that was really funny. And now we get to Apollo. Apollo as a character has grown since the Hidden Oracle, and he's grown. Actually, he's changed. He's not as full of himself as he was in the Titan's Curse, which is a PGO book, by the way, Percy Jackson and the Titan's Curse. And I mean, he let Thalia drive his sunbus and it crashed and stuff like that. It was all cool. And then in the Heroes of Olympus, about Octavian, how, you know, he was helping Octavian there for a bit, and that's why he got set down. And I also loved the part where he helped Leo get the death cure thing that he had to take to make him come back alive again, and how Apollo helped him go to his son to make it. And yeah, that was, and how Leo swapped the flower for the Valdesignator. So yeah, that was funny. But in this series, he's grown since the first book. I mean, in the first book, he tried to go, oh, I got my powers, blood, stuff like that. And yeah, he's learning over these books that friendship and love and stuff like that does get you through, especially with help from your friends. And I love in this one where he was susceptible to the curse of being a zombie. And I mean, it was bad enough that when they went into Tarquin's tomb, because he's a kid, that Tarquin turned it up and he was hurting, and Meg and Hazel and Lavinia's like, leave him alone, and coming to his aid and stuff like that. And Apollo got worse, not better, and the only way he could get better is to summon another god. And I love at the time when they were trying to summon, okay, which god should we pick? He said not Zeus. He wasn't going to pick Zeus. And Aphrodite was out and Hera was out. No. So he picked Artemis, or Diana in Roman terms. He picked his sister. And his sister was late coming to the battle, I must admit. And in the bookshop, I loved how he couldn't do anything about it. And then near the end, he said where Ella and Tyson was. And I mean, because of the curse thing of turning into a zombie from Tarquin. And he couldn't help but say it. And then after Tarquin, near the end, Apollo was just going unconscious type of thing, and Artemis showed up and killed Tarquin, and she told Apollo, don't you dare, and brought him back and healed him. Well, the best she could do. I mean, she couldn't change him into a god. That's only up to Zeus to do. But yes, and that was sweet. And I love how he found out his birthday. I love his, near the end, how they hosted a birthday party for him. And they gave back his bow, his actual bow that he used as a god. He got it back. So he's going to be using that in the next book to try and defeat Python, because, you know, they got to go defeat Nero first, and then they got to go defeat Python. So that's going to be interesting. I also loved how he moaned in the first part, for first few chapters in the book. He was moaning about carrying the coffin, Jason's coffin, and he's like, oh, how much further is it? And then when they went to find Tarquin's tomb and stuff like that, and Hazel's like, is he always like this? And Meg's like, he was a bit worse at the beginning. Now he's gotten a little better. You know, I mean, yeah, he's sometimes stupid, but, you know, but that was so funny too. And how Apollo and Meg is together. I love how Apollo is like, Meg, I'm just, yeah, I love how he'd do anything to protect Meg. and he wished Meg wasn't coming with him on this other adventure, but he knows she has to face her fear of Nero. So he's happy about it in one way, but sad in the other about it and nervous about it because she has to face Nero in the next book. And yeah, Apollo has grown, and I love that. And I hope he keeps the scars and will remember, because in the third book he said, I am Apollo, I will remember. And I hope he does end up doing that, and that would be sweet to see. So yeah, and that was just my dog. So yeah, so that would be great to see. And I cannot wait for the next book, The Tower of Nero, to come out and see whether he can defeat Python. And I hope he doesn't die in the next book, and I'm sure he won't, but I hope in some way he does remember, and when he gets his godly powers, he will remember and change, because that happened with Hermes in the last book of PJO. And he did change in that one a bit. And he's like, because Percy talks to Hermes when Hermes' son dies, and Hermes goes, can we change our behavior? Can the gods change it? And Percy's like, yes, I'm sure you can. And Hermes goes, I will try. And so when Apollo was at Camp Half-Blood the last time in the first book, The Hidden Oracle, he asked the same thing of Percy Jackson, and Percy went, yes, you can change, and this is teaching Apollo to change, and I reckon he will. And the best thing about this is that I cannot wait for the next book, and I just hope no one else dies. And I don't think Percy will die. But I think Percy and Annabeth is going to be in the next one, because Annabeth hasn't been shown in any of the books yet. Rick did say we're going to see from the whole 7. So, you know. And I want to see Grover and his girlfriend, Juniper, again. And Will and Nico. Yay, we are going to see from them. Rick's already said that. So that's going to be cool. And yeah, and Chiron, I hope we see Chiron. And Diastasis. I hope we get to see Diastasis as well, because he is the camp leader thing there at Camp Half-Blood. So I hope we get to see him in the next book as well. I mean, it'd be fun watching Apollo and Diastasis talk. So that would be so cool. And since the line of communications is slowly opening back up again, oh, that'd be so great. But yeah, I hope Apollo doesn't try and kill it. Well, doesn't get anybody else killed, and as well as defeats both Nero and Python, and returns the Oracle of Delphi back to where she was. So yeah, here's hoping. All right, see you next time.